Welcome to episode 4 of the Envision Breathwork podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Alex Wolfe. Alex is the founder of Eons, a biotech wellness brand that uses functional mushrooms to enhance the quality of your life. In fact, I've just begun to use the Eons Smart Mushroom Coffee today, and I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm feeling super productive today. Alex is a biohacking enthusiast, a disciple of plant medicine, and a believer that nature contains everything we need for a healthy, beautiful, and meaningful life. His life's goal is to bring this insight to the world at large. As you're about to learn, Alex is a big fan of breathwork and originally found conscious breathing as a commercial and corporate jet pilot, as well as a military flight instructor. His main modalities to stay healthy include cold exposure, gut health, and breathwork. One of my favorite quotes from him is, if someone spent a whole year just paying attention to their breath, it would be more effective than a year of therapy. In our podcast today, we go over 2 breathtaking stories where Alex used breathing techniques to stay calm in aviation emergencies, plus his own protocols for staying healthy. I hope you enjoy this podcast with none other than Mr. Alex Wolfe. So, Alex, tell me, are there any big moments in your life where breath work has made all the difference?
Absolutely. Breathwork has been a big part of my life ever since I was a teenager. I became a pilot at 17 years old, and I was a commercial pilot at 20 years old. And believe it or not, that's where I was introduced to conscious breathing and breath work, even though before I knew it was actually breath work. I read a book called The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about the power of the conscious breath. And, myself being a young pilot who was pretty adventurous and known to push the limits, I got myself into quite a few different situations, hairy situations. And in those hairy situations, it was the power of breathing, conscious breathing, that's what got me through it. So for one example, I remember I was chartering a plane back from, I think it was North Carolina to Florida. So what that means is I would get hired to go pick up a plane and fly it into a maintenance center at a different airport. So I picked up a plane in North Carolina. I'm flying it to Florida, and the gas gauge stopped working, and the plane began to run low on fuel. So the emergency fuel light came on, and I'd been training for this for I trained for this for years, but when it happens for real, it's pretty intense. So the fuel gauge is on. I'm looking for the closest airport. I remember seeing there's 2 different options. There's, a regular size, like a decent size international airport that's like 20 miles away, and then there's a little airstrip. Probably actually was like a almost like a farmer's field,
Yep.
like 10 miles away. So it was like one of those split decisions, but I didn't know if they would actually have fuel at the farmer's field little airstrip. So I went for the bigger airport, and it was intense. Like you're doing everything you can just to stay present, and in those moments the focusing on the breath was really what got me through it. Just one breath at a time, staying calm, staying dialed in. And it enabled me to put the fear aside of what could go wrong and just focus in that moment and maintain control of the plane and fly it perfectly to get there without running out of fuel. We landed, and thank God everything was all right, and we had fuel there, and we were able to continue on with the trip like as if nothing happened. But it was really intense, but it was because the power of conscious breathing that I was able to make it there.
That's amazing. I had a skydiver on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he was sharing, like, you don't have that much time, right, when things go wrong. And you probably watch Mentor Pilot, like where this YouTube series, analyzing the little things that happen, right?
Yeah.
And if you can nip it in the bud at the start, and just be calm from the start of the problem, where wherever it comes from is irrelevant. That's what makes all the difference. And then there's no drama, right? That's the great part, is usually you're able to calm things down. I'm curious, is there a breathwork technique that you come back to in these moments? You just tell yourself exhale slowly? Is it the, just forcing your mind to pay attention to the sensation? What you use the term conscious breathing a lot. What does that entail for you?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of all the things you mentioned, Alex. It's focusing on the inhale, extended inhale for 4 or 5 seconds, really focusing on that. Sometimes even holding it for a few seconds, just being really aware of that. And then extending the exhale as long as possible, ideally all through the nose. I find that
Yeah,
makes a big difference. I'm sure there's some science to back that up that I'm not
yeah,
super familiar with, but this is what I've heard. And yeah, just getting in that state, that flow state, that breathing induces so well. It's such a gift, it enables you to do things that you never thought you were able to do. And for myself, that just happened so many times when flying the airplane, stressful situations, turbulence, weather, thunderstorms, equipment breaking, so many things, being rerouted. And it's like, okay, just
mhm.
breathe through it and one moment at a time, and just get there safely.
Yes, yeah, that's amazing. Is there another story on how the breath has shown up in big moments?
There's so many, really. One
Mhm.
that comes to mind, totally different modality, was in my martial arts phase. I practiced martial arts for quite a few years, started with boxing, then got into Muay Thai and kickboxing, and then, got beat up by some jujitsu and wrestling guys. So I was like, okay, I need to get a ground game going on. So I started wrestling, and started then from there started doing knife fighting with Cali. So, but it wasn't really until I really started getting better at my controlling my breathing while fighting, because it's such a things are happening so fast, so intensely, and like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the
Yep.
face. So once you start getting punched in the face, it's hard not to get upset, get angry, self-talk gets involved. So my trick always was really just focus on breathing again, even though how intense and stressful things could get. Even when you're on the ground and some guys got you in a good position on the ground, is like, okay, really get a hold of your breath, slow it down. And that was the thing that was able to get me through a lot of these heavy sparring sessions, was like just going into further rounds by controlling my breath, slowing down my breath. And then I could go into a couple of rounds later, and then the other guy was getting tired, he didn't have the same breath control that I did. And that was my advantage a lot of the time, was just like, okay, like let's just breathe through this and extend the fight.
That's so funny that you talk about martial arts. I think it was last year around this time with the men's group I was leading. We started boxing at Zilker Park, and a lot of gentlemen, first time, right? First time putting on gloves. If we even got to that. And the first thing you notice is they're breathing like crazy, right? They're jumping all up and down, and by 30 seconds in, they're gassed, right? Like
Yeah.
it's done. And I think what you're talking about is so important. It's the slowing down, right?
Mhm.
It's this idea of, like, fight or flight states is what
Mhm.
the mouth breathing, intensely out of control is going to get you into, and that's not the best way to handle things. Whether it's martial arts, I'm a triathlete, and it's all
Mm.
about slowing your breath down, so you can endure for longer. That's yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
So
So,
welcome.
for our listeners who don't know too much about you, you do quite a lot, right? I've read, you're biohacking, disciple of plant medicine. You really believe that nature, contains everything that we need. And I'm curious, with your friends, your family, customers, clients, whatever it is, do you have suggestions on how the breath should come into their lives, no matter what they're up to? Do you give people ideas on how to use breath work in their daily lives? And maybe you can talk about cold exposure, gut health, or these other areas that you're passionate about.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for that. I'm an entrepreneur now. I've been an entrepreneur for 7 years, and even breath work in the boardroom really helps as well.
Mm,
But it was really around 2019 when I first discovered all this stuff as a modality. I was doing conscious breathing, like I said, as a pilot and into martial arts. But then I hit a wall in 2019. I was living in Los Angeles, California at the time. I was running another business. It was my second business, a CBD business. And there was a lot of pressure around the startup. We were building this company, and there was a lot of expectations around CBD. It was the next big thing, and I started hitting a wall. And it wasn't enough. I was getting brain fog and fatigue and anxiety, and I was trying to do these modalities, but it wasn't really working. And it wasn't until I got a call from a shareholder one day checking in on me. And usually when a shareholder calls, Alex, it's really just they want to hear optimism and things are going
Yeah.
well and this is our plan to move forward. And I had all those things, but I was really struggling at that time. I was really had this anxiety and this brain fog that I never really experienced before. So I took the opportunity to tell him the truth, and I said, I have this brain fog and I'm working out and I'm meditating, but I still can't seem to shake this. And he said three words to me that changed my trajectory. He said, heal your gut. And I
Mm.
said, tell me more. And he said, I've been studying the gut biome for 20 years. And if you could come to understand the relationship between your gut, your brain, the sun, the soil, fungi, and beyond, said you'll upgrade your relationship to nature and you'll shift from a consumer to a co-creator in this world. And that's so I was like, wow, I was amazed by that. So I began studying the gut biome, how it relates to the sun and soil and fungi. And I learned that, the gut is so it's so imperative for our health. It's 85% of the immune system is in our gut, and there's an axis that goes from our gut to
Yeah.
our brain, and they call the gut the second brain. So anyway, there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff that I learned and how mushrooms played a factor in this. So I really got it involved in functional mushrooms and then microdosing and then psychedelic mushrooms, and that became my new obsession. And I paired this with breath work for real. I took a
Mm.
breath work course and I cold exposure. And between those things, taking a functional mushroom protocol, doing breath work every day, Wim Hof, I was doing
Yep.
the Wim Hof method, 10 minutes every morning, and then cold exposure after, I radically shifted my health in a matter of weeks. And it was a major, major difference. And everything in my life improved. My relationships improved. My business improved. Everything improved. So those have become my anchors, has been mushrooms,
Yep.
um, breath work, and cold exposure. So to anybody listening at home, those are things that I'd really, really, really recommend. They're all natural things that anybody can really, do easily. And yeah, it's been such a gift. So those are three things. And like I said, they're all natural. And it just
Yeah.
reminded me to start spending more time in nature, breathing in nature, going for walks without my phone, and paying more attention in nature, and just allowing the messages to come through. There's so much noise that goes on a day-to-day basis, and I used to find myself always wanting to consume information and learn new things, which is great, but it was very rare that during the day I wasn't consuming some sort of noise. So nature
Yep.
has been my refuge to go and just breathe in nature and just listen and see what comes up.
Mm. Yes. Yeah. One thing on nature, I heard recently that we're living in the everlasting now on Instagram, on Facebook, right? Every single piece of content you see was produced in the past 2 days, right? And there's this lack of, long-standing content that it's just, you have to find a way to seek it out because the medium has changed.
Right.
And one thing, I went on a run with friends today in the green belt. We did 10 miles and it was absolutely amazing, right? We didn't even talk that much with each other. We just ran in silence, and it just gives you so much perspective to kind of like filter out the 99% that's irrelevant. So you come back to the 1% that matters. And we, at the end, we all like exclaimed, like, even if this has no meaning, like in our lives, that was fulfilling, right? Like
Yeah.
that was significant. Just morning, Tuesday morning run with friends, like fills you up.
Yeah.
It's like there's inherent value. So thank you for sharing that. Final question, Alex. New Year's resolutions, any big goals for 2024? What's on your plate? What are you looking at?
Well, It's a good question. I actually enjoy New Year's resolutions. I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
mixed feelings out there, and a lot of people think it's bullshit, but um, for me, it's an opportunity to set goals, and I get inspired by goals because I like to hit them. So, I have big aspirations for my company, Eons. We're launching a lot of really cool products this year. We're launching things that have never been created before. So for me, that's really exciting as an entrepreneur, is to have an idea and then bring it to market. So that's, to execute on these goals is a big thing. But on a more natural, holistic side, I've been spending the first 10 minutes of my morning in silence. I wake up and I turn on the sauna, and while the sauna is heating
Mm.
up, I just go and sit in silence. No phone, no nothing. And I just allow whatever comes up to come up. And so my new goal for the new year is to spend more time in silence. And I'm taking the first at least 10 minutes of the day. I try to go for a walk in the afternoon with my dog as well. But yeah, just more time in nature, more quiet time. Um, and I believe that's the one of the keys where you get these codes, these downloads as they call them, from God or from source, to go and be able to execute on these goals. So it's kind of all connected.
Yes. Do you wanna speak on Eons for a minute, just so the audience knows what you're creating?
Yeah, sure. So Eons is a mushroom brand we created. Combines biotechnology with nature's technology, mushrooms that have been around for eons. Mushrooms are the oldest technology in this world. The largest living organism in the world is the mycelium network that really connects all plants and trees and transport nutrients and water. So it's combining nature and nature's technology, and biotechnology to make really effective products that people feel. We do that using bioavailability. We have 14 patents on bioavailability. So we're able to take these molecules, get them in human bodies better, faster, stronger. So you really feel the effects. And we're doing that to solve, common modern day problems like sleep, anxiety, productivity, gut health. So yeah, we have a new sleep product coming out that I believe is the most effective all natural sleep product ever created. I know that's a bold statement, but we spent 2 years on it and invested a bunch of money into these biotechnologies. So it's really exciting. And then also we have the first legal psychedelic microdose coming out in Q2. That's also really exciting, game changer. No one's ever done it before. So yeah, these are the things that keep me excited. And the more time I spend in nature, the more I get ideas and answers how to do this stuff. So it's been a really fun experience.
Wow. Wow. I am fascinated. I'll be following you and hope to try your product soon enough.
Yeah, I'll send
And
you some.
yeah, yes, there we go.
Awesome.
Alex, once again, just want to thank you for coming on this podcast. Thank you for your time, and this was absolutely informative. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was great.